This is attorney Elizabeth Potts Weinstein, and today we're going to talk about how to honor the corporate formalities for your LLC, for your limited liability company. So if you've decided to create an LLC for your business as the legal structure for your business, to put everything in there to protect you from the liability, that is a wonderful thing to have done to protect yourself and also have some additional tax planning that you can do. But it is not going to be helpful at all unless you honor the corporate formalities. Why? So the idea is that you'll have to honor the fact that this is a legit business that is separate from you personally. That's not just an extension of yourself. And if you don't do that, then the court can pierce the corporate veil and get in there to between the business and you and just say, it was just you this whole entire time, and then they can come and take your house. Obviously, this is very terrible. You don't want this to happen. So how do you avoid this? How you avoid it, one of the big ways is by having formalities in your business that you observe. So what am I talking about here? The first one is to keep money separate. The business's money needs to be separate from you. The business needs its own checking account. It needs to have bookkeeping for the business where you keep track of income and expenses. It could be literally on a piece of paper, or you could use software. It's up to you, but it needs to be an actual thing that you do. You need to pay yourself, and you don't just use the LLC's money to buy your groceries or pay for your personal bills. It will pay you a distribution, and then you use that money in your own checking account to pay your stuff. I recommend that you have the LLC have its own credit card. It may be in the beginning when your LLC is brand new, you may have to co-sign for the credit. So when I first got my very first American Express card for my business years and years ago, I had to personally co-sign for it because the LLC had no credit, right? It was brand new. Now that I've had a business for a very long time, I now actually have a corporation for my law firm. It has its own credit rating and it can get its own debt, and I don't have to personally co-sign for that anymore. It is something to be aware of that you may have to co-sign, but that is a different thing than having it just be actually in your name. The second thing you need to do is to have written resolutions and a written operating agreement. There's only a few states where you're actually legally required to have an operating agreement. However, you should have an operating agreement. What is an operating agreement? It's just a contract, kind of like a partnership agreement where all the owners are agreeing what the rules are for this LLC. It's things like what is your tax status going to be? What is the voting? How's voting going to work for things? What's going to happen if it needs to be terminated or dissolved? What if there's a disagreement around the owners? Now you may say, well, I'm just the only owner, so that's weird. I'm going to sign a contract with myself. My answer is going to be yes. That's exactly what you're going to do. You're going to sign a contract with yourself. It is weird. It is a formality that you're doing to protect yourself from problems that could happen in the future. It can also be something that will be useful if you bring in other owners, but to be honest, if you brought in other owners, you would most likely negotiate a new operating agreement. You can find tons of forms online. I'm actually going to be doing a video in the future about where to find forms, do some reviews of the different forms that are available for you. You also want to have written resolutions for big things in your business. This is kind of like minutes of a meeting that you don't have because it's just a resolution that's in writing and everyone signs it. So you're not going to do this for every little decision in your business. You're not going to do this when you just decide to buy something in the ordinary course of business or for ordinary things that you do on an everyday for the line of work that you do. This is going to be for big stuff that's not ordinary. So you sign a lease. You decide to go in a different kind of business than you have been before. You decide to change the rules of the business, bring in a new business partner, bring in an investment. You decide to get a loan. This is one of the big ones. So you apply for an SBA loan. You got a PPP loan during the pandemic. This kind of stuff where you're doing something that's not just kind of ordinary in the business. So the third thing you need to do is formalities and self-dealing. If you are doing some kind of arrangement with the LLC, as if the LLC is separate from you, which it should be, that needs to be in writing, as if you're doing business with a stranger. Okay, so think about anytime you're doing something where if this was a stranger, we would do it differently, you need to do it differently. So for example, let's say I was going to loan money to my corporation because I had decided to change something in my business. I'm going to do a bunch of development and trainings and things like that. And so I need to put in thousands of dollars into my business. And I don't want to do it as a capital investment that I won't get back until I sell the business. I want to do it as a loan. And the business is going to pay me every month on that loan, for example. In that case, it needs to be in writing. It needs to be a loan agreement that's actually in writing I need to charge interest, just as if I would charge interest to a stranger. It doesn't have to be a super high rate, but it needs to not be like 1% or some ridiculously low rate that's not legit. You would never do that with a stranger. Also, you need to have written resolutions that approve this self-dealing arrangement. Self-dealing is one of the ways you can really get in trouble. So you have to think about whether or not this makes sense. And that's something, if you're planning to do something like that, like you're going to go into some kind of business arrangement with your LLC where you're going to, for example, own your copyrights and trademarks outright separately from the LLC and just license it to the LLC and they're going to pay you licensing fees, or you're going to loan money. And that's the kind of thing that you would hire a lawyer to do. And you want to probably also talk to your accountant to see if that makes sense financially to do. It may be great tax planning, but at that level, you're going to need someone to really create documents for you, or at least review documents for you to know that they're legit. Otherwise, the corporate veil is going to get pierced and there was no point in you creating LLC in the first place because you've lost the biggest benefit, the limited liability benefit. Again, this is attorney Elizabeth Potts-Weinstein. If you have any questions about corporate formalities or anything else we've talked about today, feel free to leave them in the comments below and I'll try to point you in the right direction. Thumbs up if you found this video helpful. Subscribe for more videos like this. And if you'd like more connection, you can join the free Discord or you can sign up for the Patreon. Information about all that is in the description below. Thanks a lot for watching. Bye-bye.